Um, and it seems like it's recording, but let me just make sure that it is recording. So it's recording and it doesn't look like it's crashed yet. Um, okay, so I think we're okay to go. So we're gonna uh, close that out, and we're just gonna first dive into the actual application itself. Um, so so the program, I actually maybe just briefly I'll just start on the website just to give people. The website is just a placeholder website. We've got a little countdown ticker. We are not officially open yet, so anything that you see in this demo is liable to have bugs or like don't expect this to be perfect. Basically, in the long and short of it. Interesting little factoid. Um, the entire website, including like all of the content, including the graphics, were all generated by artificial intelligence through our API integrations. We did this template here for the website itself. The outside external template we did grab from somewhere else, but all the text content, everything with minor adjustments was made basically. Uh, but basically it's all done through the tool, not the tool specifically, but the extensions of the tool. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the application. Um, and so this is basically the simplistic version of the application. And not too much to be seen at the moment. You can see we basically just got a very simple kind of a IDE. Um, and there's not really too much to it at this stage. However, in the recent past, this whole section over here, we had completely designed out, and it basically allowed you to create models, and then we had it separated out, and you could create workflows. And this whole area still works in theory. Uh, like you can see that the menu is still there, and so on. Everything is basically as it was. It's just that for the at least for the time being, this particular area is under construction. Okay. Um, now the way that the application, I guess the thing that we would focus on today, this is not a blockchain product, although it does integrate blockchains. Um, we can integrate essentially any blockchain into the application. Uh, and if there are any questions, feel free to just like pop them down in the channel, and I will try to address them as we go. Uh, so we're just going to scroll back into the application. And so the idea with the blockchain integration here would be that if you have certain parts of your program that you want to store as being like permanent or like things that you can refer back to in the future. If you trust placeholders, you can put it on. Actually, placeholders has a very nice because we store artifacts, so it's actually very nice. We don't really have enough hash power or enough sort of credibility, so other people they might choose like Ethereum or Ethereum Classic. We also have a Dero integration and a Partisia integration. We also have a Bitcoin integration. It's just it's very expensive to use Bitcoin, and we don't have like a wallet built into this yet. Not certain that we're actually going to do that. We may just have like a place where you can, offshoot. So the sort of the key critical kind of idea between this application of this application is really what you're going to do is you're going to be selecting between whether you're building a client application or you're going to be building a server application. So in this particular case, we have a number of different server applications that you can select, depending what you're comfortable with, like Node or in my case, I'm typically very comfortable with JAX RS, and that's the default setting that we have set here. Um, and so I'll just gonna go ahead here, and I'm gonna have to kind of jump around a little bit in order to make some of this make sense. Now, um, so typically what would happen is that when you open up the API inspector here, so here I've opened up the docs, okay, and it's opened up the application docs, and that's here. And if I was to come down to the index, then I'm going to get the Swagger schema, okay, and so this all gets basically generated from your model definition, which you're going to place over on the left hand side. And so that's you're going to be creating attributes, um, and there's not really a limitation to the number of models that you can create. And then you're going to be able to create workflows. Okay, so that's kind of like the major idea of how it works. And once you've gone through the process of developing your models, you're going to be able to publish out your code, and as you can see, like it will generate the code for you. Um, and the code is basically done to specification. It's ready to go. Uh, all of the sort of the details, including the API documentation. We do support, like in the case of Java, we support like the um, Java documentation as well, and the full schema output. Now, the schema editor in this case is here, and um, you can see that we're generating so we have a user object, and we don't have much else at the moment. Now, if I was going to be very clever, and I'll switch back to the dark scheme because I kind of prefer that. Go back to my settings, and maybe you have a specific language that you would prefer to generate in. Just see if there's a specific language that you like. We may have it, we may not. There's 40 languages in total, but not all of them are supported on the client or the server. Kotlin, which is basically a variant of Java. Sure, that one. Do you want it as client or server? Client. Okay. So we're just go back to our application. So we're going to select, right now we're on servers. So we're going to select Java, and we're going to look for, oh, sorry, Kotlin. Why I don't have Kotlin here. I know that we have it. For sure we have Kotlin on the client. It's just not in here. It's not technically, okay. You found a bug. So congratulations, you're a bug finder. Um, let's see. I can do a Kotlin server. I apologize. We do have Kotlin client. It's just not actually mapped in yet. So if you're okay with that, are you okay with that? Yes? No? It is there. It's just not, like literally, it's just not in the mapping. But I'll go ahead. I'm not going to give you a choice, really. We'll go ahead to our application. I'm just going to go ahead and publish to Kotlin, and we should see it says that our Kotlin application succeeded. I might have to change here. It should jump right, but it's not going to. Why is it not? Let's go publish. No Java docs. Okay, so let's go to code, and we might have to actually dig down into the into our folder here. So we've got to go to our Open API folder, which is going to be here, and then we've gonna there's Kotlin, by the way, but here we've got our Kotlin file main, uh, and we have our server APIs. So we've got our code generation is done here, with our paths. Okay, user location. Okay, and our models. Just we have the two models at the moment. Now, as I was mentioning, the model over here, we are going to be allowing people to generate, like basically, you're going to be able to create a model, type it in what you want, add the attributes, and I'm just going to digress for a moment and just show you some of the things that you can expect to see. So as you create your model, it's going to update your schema. And this is something that we've demonstrated many times before. Um, your schema will dynamically generate, and your code will dynamically generate along with the schema, as well as your API inspector. Now, one thing I'm going to digress in two directions really quickly. One is today we just hit a major milestone where we are, well, one of the things we were worried about is that we were going to have to pay a third party. Let's see if I can find it, if it's on the web here, if I still have it open. It's JX browser. This one. And we were a little bit concerned because this is sort of like their cost, and then it's a perpetual license, and it's unlimited projects, and it's very expensive. I mean, that's 27,000 US dollars, and in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge deal. But there is a possibility that they could cut off our license, or they could change it, or they could do things to it. And so one of the big milestones that we've reached as of today is that essentially we've been able to build out our own um, browser, Chromium browser, that will be embedded into our application. And so just for demonstration purposes, as long as this works, hopefully it will. I should be able to go to API inspector index.html, and I can see my my schema. Now the idea is that this frame that we've got here is going to eventually make its way into this tab. Okay, and then this docs tab is going to also come here. We're not going to have to pay anybody, so that's going to make the application a lot cheaper for users. It's going to make the application simpler, easier to maintain. I'm quite happy to not pay $27,000 perpetually per annum. Like it's not a huge amount of money to get over in the grand scheme of things if you've got good customers that are paying you well. But you know, if we get into like a recession or a bad situation, that's not going to be helpful. So the other area where this application is going to shine, I think, is what we have here is in predefined forms. Okay, so just to give you a simple example, like I can't do it at the moment. Normally we have a section over here on this side for workflows. And the idea is that you go into your UI UX and you drag over the items that you want into your each workflow. And a workflow, basically, to simplify it, it's a web page. Okay, so we have a number of different predefined workflows, and some of them they're pretty good. So like I'll give you an example of this one is just for this doesn't actually work, but this is a good example of one. This is a simple workflow. This is a single sign-on. We would expect that this workflow would be able to be dropped in with a single sign-on request, and then they probably would want to add a CAPTCHA. They will have to add their developer ID, okay, and so forth. And then the idea will be that this, obviously, they'll be able to control the look and feel of it by controlling the CSS. So we have a section where they'll be able to add a CSS bundle to control the look and feel of that particular component, and it will just get mapped in as though it's there, and you should be able to just view it. Now the other thing that we're looking at very carefully, we would like to add, is a capability for full support of this prime faces. And this is, they just have so many good looking like UIs that are essentially ready to go. The problem with them is that they don't do anything. They're just pictures. And so what our application, the difference is going to be is that these are not going to be pictures. Our application is really designed to build the back end. So we focused on the back end portion first. That is towards basing it around the API, a RESTful API, and then putting it in as many languages as possible using OpenAPI, and then developing the tool for rapid application development. So we have like only 4 minutes left on this demo. I'm just going to see, even better not to depend on them. Yes, we don't want to be dependent on them because they can cut us off. They can do all kinds of bad things to us, and we have to pay money. So yeah, it's not good. Now, one of the things, I'm just going to show this briefly. So everybody, I'm sure, is very familiar with ChatGPT. We do have a corporate account with OpenAPI. But let's we're just gonna play a little simple thing here. So I'm gonna let you sort of drive the model definition. We got a few minutes left. So let's say that you wanted to define a model for an application. So any model, like I don't know what kind of application that you might be interested in building, but let's say that's I don't know, pick a topic. Maybe it's an easier way to start. I'll let you drive it a bit. E-commerce. Let's get a little more. Well, we could use e-commerce, but let's get a little. What maybe let's like we could stay broad, but let's if it's okay, just for the sake of this demonstration, let's go a little bit small, like e-commerce of skateboards or something. Sure. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to use OpenAPI, or sorry, OpenAI, not to be mixed up with OpenAPI, to give us a list of attributes of a skateboard. Oops, it looks like it wants us to create a new chat. We might even have to relog in again. And it might be overcrowded because there's a lot of people using it. But on our corporate account, it's so give us a attribute list of a skateboard. Okay. So it has a deck. Okay. Trucks, wheels, bearings, grip tape, hardware, deck width, deck length, deck shape. And there's some detail here as well. The important thing is wheel size. The important thing here is that now we have this object called a skateboard, and we've generated 11 different attributes that go with a skateboard. Okay. And so the way that this application ultimately will work is that you will be able to define your model by typing in, skateboard, and it will give you the suggestion of properties to include for that particular model. And so if you wanted an e-commerce site that sold skateboards, um, you know, we might like the a lot of this stuff is going to be basically like prefabricated, and you'll be able to basically just drop it in, like So I'm going to stop presenting now, unless there's something specific that you would like to dive into deeper, uh, of in terms of like the presentation portion, and then we can take a couple minutes and just if there's any extra questions, or if there's something specific you want me to look at better. I don't know if I mentioned. Did I mention prime faces? I think I did, right? So the important thing with this is that we're planning on the UI UX portion. So this is all open source, and on the UI UX portion, this is where you're going to have that basically a prime faces style interface. Okay, it's coming. It's coming fast. It may seem like there's a lot of distance between where we are now and where we're going to be, but I can assure you that it's actually much closer than it looks like. So if that is sufficient for now, then I would like to just stop presenting and yeah, well, it is kind of amazing to see how far like code generation has gone. And thank you very much for joining. And I'll review the video and make sure that it's reasonable. If it's possible for me to edit out your name, I will. And but thanks very much for coming, and it's really appreciated. And Guy is here. I don't know if you want to say.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah. So thanks very much for taking a look. And I think in the not too distant future, if you're interested, once the model builder is up, you might want to take another look. Especially once we have like the embedded um, Chromium browser. Once those things are embedded and the UI is embedded, it's still going to be bumpy, but it's going to look a lot further along. And I think at that point, then the value proposition is going to come in because it's going to demonstrate a lot of the things. And there's one other thing that I didn't mention, and that is that in the background, after every single change that a person makes, it will update Git. So you have a complete code repository of every change you've made as you make it, and it gets done automatically without somebody having to go through the process of pushing and pulling and doing all of that stuff. So that's I think where we're going to be able to add some value, and by leveraging both AI and Open API, I think that we have an interesting product that is going to continue to sell. We've been able to sell it already, and it was just with segments, and I think it has a bright future. So thank you very much, and I'm going to end the presentation now. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Bye.